The thieves come out at night. So do the drug addicts, the drug dealers, the criminals, the cops, the doctors, the nurses, the veterinarians, people who go to work in the morning. What happens at night is a lot different than what happens during the day, and you need to start accustoming yourself to what happens in your area at night. Just driving around this evening, Kelly and I saw a couple of fentanyl addicts in their normal stooped over stance because they've become addicted to a drug that is really ruining their bodies and their minds. We also saw people who were trying to enjoy a party lifestyle. We saw some others who were maybe going to the beach and some others who were driving drunk. What happens at night is going to give you an idea of what you need to prepare for in a world without the rule of law, because the human believes that they can get away with more during evening hours. This is a very instinctual, very, I would guess, primal way to think. And that's because, let's face it, if I run that way and I get out of the light's sight, you're not going to see me anymore. Now, if I'm wearing the appropriate clothing that would even hamper your ability to see me further, now I have a even better advantage against you. This is why police officers carry things like flashlights with them. People in the military have night vision. Hunters will have infrared vision, and this gives you an advantage against people who otherwise believe that you're not going to be able to see them if they're not directly standing underneath a light. But it's very important to you. I know that you might have a schedule that doesn't allow you to stay up too late at night, but try to push it sometimes and try to get out there and see exactly what's happening in those evening hours. You're going to find a lot of great people that exist during that time, and you're going to find a lot of not so great people that really let their inner inhibitions come out. Now, we saw, like I said, some fentanyl addicts, and it's really a disastrous thing because we know a couple of people who have family that are recovering in fentanyl, and we know a couple of other people who have lost people to this dangerous and deadly drug. If you think that this disease of addiction is not going to be prevalent during a long duration emergency, you're just fooling yourself, because let me tell you, it's going to touch your family. You're going to see people inside of your group or inside of your family, or maybe just people in your area that become addicted to dangerous diseases. They will literally do anything to be able to forget about the trauma that they're experiencing, the chaos that is happening around them, the fact that there could be people knocking at their door trying to steal them or steal from them at any time. Child trafficking, looting, robbing, murdering. The list goes on and on of the really nasty things that can happen to you, whether you live in a rural area or you live inside of the city. It's really important that you get out here at night and you start paying attention to maybe where the people without a home are sleeping. A lot of times those people know exactly what's up, and so having some sort of communication with them, you'll be able to see and understand how quickly a life can go from living beautifully, having a nice house, having a great car, into having no house and no car, and knowing a lot of people that are in addiction, or maybe they themselves are stuck in that sort of disease. You're also going to learn where the police are in your area, what type of response times you can expect in this current world with a rule of law, and then you multiply that. Actually, I guess you would divide it in a world without a rule of law, because if it takes 30 minutes for the cops to get to you today, imagine that it's going to take at least an hour and a half for them to get to you tomorrow, or if they ever show up at all, because they're busy keeping the politicians alive, the banks safe, the grocery stores from being looted. That's their continuity of government operating procedure. You're not a part of that, and that's really unfortunate, because it means that to a certain degree, you as an individual need to start defending yourself, and you need to look out for you, number one. That's why having a group of any sort is really pivotal in your chances of survival. It really boosts your chances, because then and it doesn't have to be a hardcore prepper. It doesn't have to be some sort of ex-Marine survivalist, special forces guru with 10 million rounds of ammunition. No, just a set of eyes that can stay awake during these hours. Now, everybody has a different circadian rhythm, and your circadian rhythm means whether you, back in olden times, were the guys who got up with the crack of dawn and you worked on the farm, or even before that, or were you the people who kept watch at the cave's mouth while everybody else slept? We each have our own circadian rhythm, and it varies, and it can be adapted. You know, you're going to experience, especially if you have to start keeping a night watch, you've got 3, 6 weeks, maybe even 9 weeks of absolute drudgery where your life pretty much sucks because you're just tired all the time, you're fatigued, your thought process isn't working as sharply as it did during your natural circadian rhythm, but you will get over it. Now, that's why we employ a couple of things in our long duration emergency plans, like caffeine. There's some other multivitamins and things that can help you so that if you find yourself in that position where you're forced, and you might be a night person, but you're forced to wake up during the morning hours and really get out there and really do things, you're going to have a little bit of help, or at least it will help a little bit to have some caffeine to keep you going. Now, for you and your family, you might not ever experience anything like a back alley where you have homeless people sleeping and, you're driving near fentanyl addicts, or, people might be robbing a place right behind you. That's kind of big city life, but it doesn't mean that you won't experience it in the future. And so part of this whole game of preparedness is knowing that you and your family have some sort of plan. Knowing that you and your family not only have a readiness to act when something bad happens, but that you have a coordinated effort between the people that matter to you. So this was just kind of our first step out here. We wanted to show you a little bit of what happens in the night. And I want to really take that another step further. And I want to do some maybe houseless individual, interviews so that we can learn and see how quickly these people that are suffering some of the worst times of their lives went from a beautiful, enriched life to the struggles and trials that they face right now. And then what they find might get them out of those trials, what they find might boost them to a place of not being a houseless individual. Maybe it's that car, maybe it's that job, maybe it's getting rid of an addiction that a person might have, or getting some mental health. That's another thing that's important that I want to talk about on this channel, and that's how mental health affects your ability to survive and your chances of survival. Because if you're not only looking out there and you're seeing every shadow that stands out there as an aggressor, well, then you're going to start popping shots off in the middle of the night. You might kill your neighbor. You might harm somebody who was just walking through. You might take out a cop who was just on his rounds. And then you're going to be the one in trouble. So knowing that you have to be able to operate in a high level of efficacy during these times and efficiency during these times at night, well, that means that you have to live a little bit differently. You have to know how to be quiet when you need to be, know how to make noise when you need to, know how to approach somebody who maybe doesn't see as well as you do. Those types of things are really going to set your chances of survival a little bit differently than what you might experience otherwise. So I want to do a couple of things like that. I want to do some houseless interviews. I want to do some interviews from people from all walks of life. I want to talk to the doctors, and I want to talk to the people who are, running the gas station at at 1,500 hours. And I want to talk to the people who are, operating an ambulance. I really want to get out there and do those things. So I think that that's a good opportunity for us to really learn from all different walks of life, see how maybe other people view what's happening in our world, making sure that we're not just sitting in an echo chamber, even though we know just how bad things really are out there. I was talking with somebody who's in the service industry tonight, and she said, she thinks it's going to be 4 years until she starts to see the recovery to where she was 2 years ago in her industry. I gave it a little bit better of an odds, and I said, well, maybe about 2 years, but that's even as we stand today. 2 years of absolute misery, 2 years of people losing their homes and their houses and their families. In our country, in the United States of America and the entire Western world, the amount of people who get divorced because of economic strife is astronomical. They do not know how to live frugal. Even worse, they don't know how to live poor. They don't know how to live without tons of stimulation and tons of misdirection and redirection. They don't know how to just be together. And so when they run on hard times and they don't have those nice restaurants to go out to, they don't have all those things, things get even harder at home. So imagine the divorces that are going to happen in the next 6 to 12 months. The children that are going to suffer in chaos inside of their homes. the substance abuse we're all going to see in different parts of our world. It's just a very dreary, very dark outlook. But it's important that we not only recognize it, but we each communicate the path out. That path out, I believe with all of my heart, is a path of preparedness. Because you can prepare to lose your job. You can prepare to lose your home. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to be fun. It just means you're setting up those groups and lines of communication so that you can say, hey, if something ever happens in my family, you know, mom, dad, sister, brother, friend from California, friend in Texas, whatever it might be, online friend that you play video games with, it doesn't matter. If something bad ever happens, you know, is there any sort of way that we can communicate to each other and really find a way forward and help each other if it happens to you or if it happens to me? Now, if it isn't somebody that you have tested and has proven themselves to you before, there's going to be a high degree of fallout. Kelly and I experience that today. We experience it every day with people who just don't come through with their plans. And if they don't come through with their plans in the best of times, they're definitely not going to be able to follow through with their ideas or ideologies in the worst of times. So you have to continue to test them. Some people you might let things go. Other people you might say, no, you can just screw off and I'm not just going to deal with you anymore. And that's just a part of building good friendships, good communication, and good relationships with people that we hope we can get through these next couple of years with. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here with us. It's a little bit of a different sight out here tonight, but I kind of like it. This is my hour. I'm a night person. Kelly's a night person. Even in our children, they are night people. And so it must be a genetic thing that we just are more adept to being evening-houred individuals. Sure, we can wake up and grind at 5, 6 a.m., but I'd much rather be staying up after the lights go out for the most people. I'll be the one keeping a watch outside of the cave, making sure it's all the farmers who are able to sleep. Thank you guys for being here with us today and every day. From my family to yours, please stay safe, remain vigilant, and keep watch.